Okay, so the thing we're going to do right now is we're going to use some attributes that we can get from the landscape in order to determine the placement of plants. So one of the things that we're gonna do is we're gonna take where the road is being created. We don't want to have like plants over there. We don't want to have plants on the road. And also on the steep slopes we're not going to use any plants at all. So let's see what we can do. We have over here our point in which we have removed the color. Now we can still keep that color that we have over here. Just keep the color. And so we have immediately already an attribute that we can use. So we can use this in combination perhaps with something else. Now if you're going to add color, it's going to set over here the current color, but we can start adding something. Now in order to determine the slope, the thing we could do is we could see what is the current normal on that surface. So if we would take the y normal, or the y element of the normal, then we could see that the smaller it gets, the less likely it would be to have a plant being placed upon that. So we see over here, if we go to normal, we see right here the expressions or the variables being used to create those normals. So this one, $ny, is giving us the variable of the y normal. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to remove that. Now, the thing you might notice as well is over here we see like these normals, we're getting them from only the first input. That's why we see all these little dents inside. If we use ny2, you see that we're gonna get like this much smoother result on the road, but then it's not correct for the landscape anymore. So how can we solve that over here? Let's see that we can find the right one. Well, there are several ways. We can either try and solve it over here, in which we're going to make like a combination more or less like over here, which is a difficult calculation. Wow, difficult, it's a big word. Or what we can do as well is we can just create over here a facet node in which we're going to post compute normals again, and so here we have like new correct normals, and we create again a new point. So then we still have our colors over here, but we can start now adding or creating proper normal colors. So for example, let's add $ny at this point. And so what do we see? We see everything is turning completely red. Well, not exactly. You see over here, this is kind of darkish red. So what can we do? We can make sure, first of all, that these colors are going to be interpolated a little bit better. So by applying a power function, we can change over here how this is going to look like. So let's say power by 2, and here you can see that the slopes are going to change to more darker value. So the higher we set it, the darker the slopes are going to get. Now the color of the road, this is also exactly the place where we don't want to have any plants. So I'm going to make like an inverse of this color. And now we have this. So we have the road which is dark, and we have this power which is dark. Now we're not going to use over here a plus, since we're adding both of them together. This is not exactly the solution we're looking for. Perhaps we can do the following. We can use right over here the minimum value of both of these results. And so now what we see is we take the darkest parts from both sides, and those are the ones that we're going to keep. So now we have something we can use in order to control the placement of our plants. So we have the red color over here. So what we're going to use now is we're going to use a scatter node. The scatter node is going to generate like a set of points on that surface, and also it's going to take, as you can see over here, all the attributes from the surface those points were generated on. So if we middle mouse button click, we see over here we have like all these attributes being generated: the normals, the points, and the colors. So even, as you can see, all the normals, we still have those. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to make sure that we're going to use the color attribute in order to control the density. So right now scattering is based on a primitive area. Now we're going to scatter that using an alternate attribute. In this case, the color, like we said. And as you can see, we see right now already some more of the effect over here. So the thing that we can do is we can change the attribute bias, and so by making it higher and higher, we can make sure that there are no plants to be seen on the road and only on the mountains. I'm going to reduce the numbers, get something like this, and then we can use this in a copy node. So if you use a copy node and a little sphere as an example for those plants, we can have them all being placed over here. I'm going to control the size of them using a transform node, and in the copy node I'm going to stamp for each copy over here $pt. I'm going to make like a random copy. Stamp copy 1 copy, and this is something we're going to put into a random value, and this is something we're going to fit into a certain range. So we're going to fit this value from 0 to 100 into a value from 0.02 to a value of 0.5. And so this is going to give us the copy of all the plants that we need. So now we have all these things here. It's just easy, we can merge everything together, and of course you can apply like all kinds of other small details in order to make things work. What do we see here? We see still a color issue over here. That's something I'm going to remove using an attribute node. And with this attribute node, what it allows you to do is to take one of the attributes you see over here, and you could rename those attributes, but you can also delete some of those attributes. So in this case I'm going to delete CD, and so now we have like our bush population over here. And of course you can start to combine it later on with some other things as well, with other types of textures and more complex shapes. So let's fine tune this a little bit more. It's a little bit too small. Let's get to something like this. And so you can use all different kinds of tricks to use, for example, or to divide the scattering using some attributes. So that concludes this for the road creation.